It's scary to just see me sitting here by myself, but don't worry. A couple technical issues slowed us down. Raj will be here in a second. And of course, our special guest who's really going to carry the whole show and make sense of what this world was for Alabama fans. So we'll get started. We're going to take it back. We'll get started in 41 seconds.
The Shake Back Media Group proudly presents to you the Herb and Raj podcast starring Herb and Raj.
So, Raj, I'll just have you know, when I popped up on the screen by myself, ratings dropped 50%. Like, I see the numbers; they're jumping back up now that you're back on here. So, thank you.
Oh, wow! I didn't realize that. I did that on purpose. I wanted to make a late entrance so that we could see if the ratings would be affected or not. So,
but I already knew that. You didn't have to do that. I already knew. I was scared. I was shocked. Like, sponsors are pulling out, and we don't even have sponsors. So it's
I was about to say who's okay.
It was terrible. It was terrible. So,
well, we're back. We are back.
Good evening, Wendy Alpha, and of course, assume this is his Friday for his work week. One of the hardest working men in sports. Yep. Randy's a tough one, man, because he's also our rival. So I think there's a balance there between like trying to be nice and supportive. And then
it is, and then sometimes we gotta be mindful of what we say because I'm like he still roots for that other team, but Randy's one of our friendlier rivals. That's what I like.
But Randy's taking a couple of digs at us this past.
Oh yeah,
It's probably a good time.
But it's all it's part of the SEC, man. It's part of that friendly banter, so it's all good.
Yeah. All right, Raj. It's been a really, really weird week, so we needed somebody.
It still is.
To come on and kind of make sense of that. So
Yep.
Probably know where this intro is going. He's the first person Coach Saban called when he was retiring, which I assume you already knew that.
Yeah, I did, but nobody else did.
He was the person who actually first suggested our new coach. So,
okay.
And what was I going to say on this one?
I don't know, but I'm just curious.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Miss Saban, icon that she is, says that of everyone associated with the program, he is her favorite person.
He is.
So
he's our favorite person too. So.
I mean, it's understandable. So, man, Beat, sir, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening.
I'm good, guys. How are y'all?
Good. We're always curious to see how you react to Herb's intros. So.
I'll take whatever he gives me.
He knows it's all true. That's why I don't tell.
Yeah.
You got to show love to the Go Blue, even though it hurts. And then also Detroit had. I mean,
I was about to say
on top of the world. Detroit had a
big week for Hoda. Michigan won the Natty, and then the Lions put on a pretty good performance this past weekend. So he's on cloud nine. I give it to him.
And then it's all part of sports. And then I've only seen like Nate Oates pushing somebody as far as the basketball game goes. So.
Yeah. We're beating Missouri, and then Ryland Griffin came up. We beat Missouri by like 18, so the game's over. And Ryland Griffin came up big tonight, so that's good for Bama basketball, good for hoops, and obviously that's where our transition is going to be after, I guess, the next week or two. Whenever this I don't even know what to call it right now. Whenever this stage ends, we'll probably transition into hoops, but
maybe. So we get off there Tuesday, right? As usual, we recap the games. We've talked about a little NFL. We've done 2 live specials to kind of tell everybody how our week has gone. But let's take us back to like what your week went through, I guess starting with whenever you first knew something to when it broke Wednesday, and then like get us to this point with what you've gone through the last week.
Yeah, I don't feel like my phone has stopped since that news broke Wednesday evening. I was actually on a work call at the time, and somebody came in the room and showed me their phone. And at first I was just like, whoa, that can't be true. And then I saw that Chris Lowe was reporting it, and I knew it had to be true. So I didn't have any prior knowledge of it. Like a lot of people, I was just as surprised as anyone else. After the fact, I've gotten some information that Saban gave indications to the people that needed to know that it was at least a possibility. But I definitely didn't have any prior knowledge of it. And since then, it's just been, text, DMs, just trying to follow the coaching search. And then once Kalen DeBoer was hired, just trying to follow the roster management that's going on, the assembly of the coaching staff, the recruiting that they're doing right now. I mean, it's just crazy. College football calendar is crazy. And I think that's reflected in how the last week's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just been like same with Herb and I. Well, not our phones haven't been as busy as yours, but I mean, we just been kind of going on type of social media, going on Twitter, refreshing everything on a daily basis. I'm waking up. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. I woke up this morning, and I hate to admit this, but one of the first things on my mind was, did Caleb Downs make an announcement over the night? Did we hear anything?
I thought we weren't even going to ask this. I didn't even want to know. Raj texted me earlier. He was like, "Are you going to ask him?" I said, "I'm scared to ask. I just don't even want to know."
We haven't asked him anything. I was just simply stating how I felt today, and just going through all the updates and staying on Twitter, trying to see if anybody has heard anything. But I don't have any answers. So
yeah, I wish I could help you there. I don't know what Caleb Downs is going to do. I've heard things indicating it could go either way.
Yeah.
So I won't be surprised either way. That's kind of been the challenge ever since this news broke is it's kind of wading through the BS because, to be honest, I've gotten a lot of stuff, just chatter in the past week that ended up being totally wrong. So it seems like when these things happen, everybody has an opinion.
Yes.
Everybody has information. Yes. Everybody has information, and it's kind of hard to sift through at times.
Yeah, and when you don't know what information is accurate, then you start sending it out and reposting it and things like that, and then you don't know what to believe, and it just creates a big mess.
Yeah, I don't even know anymore. I'm afraid to go online a lot of times these days. And talk about anything. So this was an interesting one, but just because there was a fake report put out.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So as far as Milroe has been one of the more vocal ones about
he made that. Yeah, once DeBoer came to Bama, he even said, "Roll Tide, I'm staying."
We practiced his name like 20 times. Come on.
I know. I apologize. But he said he's staying. Milroe's staying, so that's something we know for sure, unless something crazy happens within the next week or whatever.
All right.
Yeah,
Randy's got a couple comments I got to get tomorrow. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can back up what Herb said. Just from everything I'm hearing internally, Milroe's been one of the leaders trying to keep the roster together. So if he just changed his mind and decided to leave, it'd be shocking. I don't anticipate that.
Yeah. And I don't know about Downs. Ohio State people are the ones that mostly been posting about Downs. They expect him to be there. One guy we've had. When Raj posted about Downs, 2 of them popped up on there, said he's already here. So
I know.
It's kind of whatever. It's kind of goes what you said though, Raj. Like everybody, or I'm sorry, man, that everyone's throwing out news, and you just really don't even know what to believe anymore.
Yeah, Ohio State finished second in his recruitment at a high school, so I think they would certainly be a player if he did decide to transfer. I would expect Georgia to be a player as well. I don't know that would be his ultimate destination, but. Kirby's kept that relationship, and with T-Rob now at Georgia, his former position coach, that's another close confidant of his that would maybe give Georgia a possible in there.
I think that was a chess move on Kirby's behalf to kind of get T-Rob.
Oh, no doubt.
Smart move there. Get somebody close to him and then just work on that. So.
And from what I've heard, that was in the works even prior to Saban retiring. I'm not saying that the decision was made, but they were flirting with each other before Saban even announced his retirement.
Right. I wish Georgia wasn't in the SEC because I like Kirby and I could root for them. It's just, why do y'all have to be here? Why could it be almost any other?
They're that close too. They're like literally adjacent to us too. So.
Yep. So you had a couple in the so this was an interesting one, Randy. So part of it didn't shock me like at all because I thought that he'd wanted to retire for a while. You know, I felt like once NIL really got going, but there are a lot of people obviously with more news or more insight than me that I guess kind of saw this coming and kind of saw it coming when it happened. So
yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I've seen a lot of people say that. And I'm not saying that wasn't good information, but I've heard these rumors for about 4 or 5 years now that it was going to be, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year. This is going to be the year. So I heard some of that same chatter, back in the fall as well, and just kind of chalked it up to that's just rival fans. We go through this every year, but eventually it was going to be correct. And it was this year. And, Coach Saban's 72 years old.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not working at 72 years old. So
can you imagine coming on our podcast
he said
when you're 72
thing.
years old?
Yep. That's what he had for 5 years. Yeah. So no, I can't imagine. I mean, if I'm doing anything at 72 and we're sitting here behind the mic just having fun doing this kind of stuff, but like
we wouldn't even know how to use the mics.
I'll assume we'll have. Well, Rod, you got kids, so I'm assuming your grandkids will come over here and help set up our stuff for us. So they'll probably be running the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, for why do you have to be here for most of Nick Saban's tenure at Alabama? Yeah. I mean, we've had it good. We've had it good. Like Bama, as you kind of just look back on kind of, I guess, where we were before and then what Nick Saban's done. I mean, it's a great legacy. We've definitely been spoiled for a long time. When you think,
I think we still have it good, man. It's just going to take a couple of weeks for everything to pan out and play out. But I mean, I'm excited about next year already. I know that's kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm really excited.
Are you skipping pickleball season, Rod? Or are you ready?
No, I'm still down for pickleball whenever you want to play. We'll figure that whole thing out. Apparently, it's super duper popular right now. But I mean, I like the hires we've made so far. I didn't necessarily see all these coming, of course. But offensively, I feel like we can make some serious moves offensively. Defense, of course, is going to depend on things we've already mentioned earlier. So I'm just patiently waiting, but really excited for the spring.
Well, Coach Saban's the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah.
And you can't replace him. I mean, it's impossible. The legacy he's built at Alabama, even beyond football, the growth of the university, what he and Mystery have done for the community. I mean, it's a different place than it was 17 years ago when he arrived. And Alabama fans should be appreciative of that. And I think they are appreciative of that. When he first came on, a lot of fans, not necessarily Alabama fans, but fans of other programs said, he'll be there 3-4 years and he'll move on to another opportunity, but he didn't. He stayed, and that should be commended. And, he's, once coaches reach their 70s, if you look back in history, nobody's really sniffed a national championship. He's done it a couple times after eclipsing 70 years old. So I don't think he was chased out of the game. I don't think he, was way below his, ability. Even at his age, I think there were some things in the game, transfer portal, NIL, that weren't ideal. I think as he got older, it became difficult to hire a strong coaching staff. I don't think the staff the last few years has been on par with some of the earlier Saban coaching staffs. And I think that was a product of his age. Assistant coaches weren't as willing to sign on, not knowing what his future held as far as the number of years he had left. So I think he held it together as long as he could. I think this is something he's been thinking about for a while. I think he had a lot of fun coaching this year, but as he said in his interview with Reese Davis, it was a grind. We all saw some of the issues with execution on this team, and I think it really got at him. Some of those issues that were cropping up, and I think he had to support the effort to improve those issues a little bit more, just because some of the deficiencies on his coaching staff. So, I was glad Saban got to go out with a pretty good season. Obviously everyone would have loved if he won a national championship in his final year and got to go out as a national champion, but he made the playoff. He lost to the eventual national champion, there's no guarantee that next year or another year after that would be any better. So I'm glad that he got to go out, still playing at an elite level.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because you look back at like the last 2 or 3 years that haven't been his best. And you're thinking there's 2 teams in the country that don't trade places with Alabama's, still did in the last 3 years in the down years. And they're like, it was funny to listen to people like, this is the worst team Nick Saban's had in the last 15 years. So it's not just they didn't judge it versus anything else going on in the country, just the other Alabama team. So he did a phenomenal job, especially if I told you, hey, we're going to take the number 1 team in the country to overtime, beat the number 1 team and then win an SEC championship, and then the new number 1 team take them to overtime in the playoffs. If I had told you that after Texas or South Florida, like everybody would have gone crazy. No way, that's never going to happen. And now, man, I think he did a phenomenal job this year. So
especially after the South Florida game, I think that was the game in which I called. Yeah, when I called Herb, I think after the game and
during the game,
and I was just joking with him. I said, "Yeah, we're probably not going to make the playoff this year with the way we're playing." I mean, it was sloppy. But to both of y'all's point, I mean, to see us make it basically 1 touchdown away from making it back to another national championship was a phenomenal turnaround and SEC champion. So I'll take it. I'll take it. And yeah, I like what he said during his interview with Reese. He was very candid about everything, and he said some things that other people, including myself, just really, really weren't aware of as far as just the daily grind it takes to be not just a college football coach, but the best coach in history in college football. So there's a lot that goes into it. Early mornings, late nights, and you're 72 years old. Eventually, you gotta know when to call it quits.
Yeah. Well, I get caught up on a couple comments real quick. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This was his best coaching job, in my opinion. I mean, where this team started the year to where they finished the year. Yeah. I mean, I would argue Michigan took Alabama to overtime. And I think Alabama was a little fortunate to be ahead late in that fourth quarter, the way Michigan played, some of the mistakes they made on special teams. But, Michigan came from behind and took Alabama to overtime. So, he just did a wonderful job this year. I mean, absolutely incredible from where the team started to where they got to.
Yeah. I'm going to answer this question first because Bam Beat has actually a little bit more knowledge of the situation. Yeah. The thing that bothered me most about the whole business decision thing is the new coach called him and he didn't answer the phone and decided to do it. That's what bothered me the most. The rest of it, he was chasing money. I mean, that's clearly what it was to me, because you can't think that we hired a more offensive-minded coach and an OC that we wanted before, and you can't think that he's not going to get more looks this year or be the number 1 at Alabama. So,
and with Burton gone, you're going to be the number 1 guy.
So. Yeah, you're going to be the number 1 guy. So clearly it was just all about money. But the only thing that really bothered me was him not answering the phone of the new coach. At least being man enough to pick up the phone and say, I'm not coming. So that's what. And I know, Bama, you've got a little bit more. And like the Cats follow up, it is the state of football now. It kind of, especially in college, it's worse than the NFL. And I think Lady Alpha had a follow-up on that. Yeah, don't stop watching the money sucks. It's worse than NFL because these guys have more control over it and they can change a lot quicker. Versus NFL, I go sign a 3-4 year deal. The team has all the control. Now a kid comes on there, he takes his NIL deal for 1 year, and now he's got all the control still. Yeah. So, but man, I know you had a little more insight into the whole thing with Bond.
And I sent you some of that information before he even committed to Texas. So I feel like it was pretty solid information. That transfer was in the works right after the Rose Bowl. Saban and staff were able to talk him out of entering the portal. So when Saban decided to retire, that was probably the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
NIL was a huge factor. There was some unhappiness with the passing production with some of the wide receivers this year. Bond was one of those wide receivers. Some questions about whether Milroe is capable of, distributing the ball at a level that, puts the receivers in a position to put up big numbers. So I think most people read the report from ESPN with Isaiah Bond after he committed to Texas, and you can read some of the quotes in there if you read between the lines.
Yeah,
kind of goes along with what I'm saying.
Didn't he make? I don't know if it was quote for quote, but he mentioned something about you were just being a better pocket passer or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was verbatim again, but he said something.
Now that part I get, which we'll talk about a little later when we go into Milroe. But I'm still not 100% sold that he finishes next year as the guy. He either gets a lot better and does, or he's really going to be pushed. Especially in Milroe.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be another QB battle. I am for sure, especially with the new coach and new offensive coordinator. It's definitely going to be a QB battle, and I feel like we've got to be averaging between 40, 45 points a game, especially with this type of offense. And we're going to have the receivers regardless of who stays and who leaves. So, I think it's going to be a nice little battle.
Yeah. Let's get a couple of these in real quick. Yeah, SEC. Did y'all both see? I know I sent it to you. Did you see this one? SEC shorts this morning?
Yeah,
I haven't. I have not.
You have to watch it.
It was one of their better ones. Yeah,
it hits you in the feels. It's about the grades for everybody's, and it ends on Alabama. So that's what we'll say. So, Bama, this was for you. Then, what are your thoughts on the new co-defensive coordinators?
I like the hires off the hoof. I mean, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert in the 4-2-5 defense or that I've followed Kane. I think it's Womack. Womack is how they're saying you pronounce it, or linguist. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on either of those two, but I do like that Coach DeBoer has hired a defensive coordinator that has experience running the defense that he wants to run, 4-2-5. That was one of my concerns with T-Rob is just most of his experience has been in a 3-4 defense, and he's always coached with Muschamp or Saban looking over his shoulder, and now it's going to be Kirby. So was he going to be a strong enough coach for him to completely manage the defense without a defensive-minded head coach looking over his shoulder? This guy has head coaching experience. I like that. I feel like he's going to be able to handle his side of the ball. The Buffalo guy is also a former head coach, so he's going to be able to help with that management. So I think they got two really good coaches, and I like that Linguist has some ties to the SEC. He's been at Texas A&M. He's been at Mississippi State. I'm sure Coach Womack has ties from his time as head coach at South Florida. His dad was a defensive coordinator at Ole Miss. So I really like the hires. I'm a big fan of Coach DeBoer, honestly, just from everything I've seen at Washington. But one of the concerns I did have when they hired him was, is he going to bring his entire defensive staff from Washington? I was fine with him doing that on the offensive side of the ball, but wasn't too keen on him doing that on the defensive side of the ball. And I
don't think anybody was.
I wasn't. Yeah, we both agree.
And I think he's demonstrated with the hires that he's made so far that he understands some of the dynamics that are going on down here in the South. And I think, he's done a really good job of putting together his staff so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we'll get in a couple other more comments here. Basically, these two together, Alabama fans don't expect any kind of drop off. And he said it in here. That's crazy. I mean, first off, it would be disrespectful to think that you could lose the best ever and then the team is just fine. So I don't even get that point anyway. But I don't know. We've never been known for our realism down here.
And let's keep in mind our schedule next year is not an easy schedule. So we got a couple of tough road games, and obviously we host Georgia too. And that third game playing at Wisconsin can get tricky, depending, obviously with us having a new coach and everything.
I would not have any
Alabama. I'm going to pick Alabama, but I'm just saying.
I'm about to say you better watch out. But anybody expecting that the team's going to be exactly the same? No. I mean, I just don't see it, and it's not fair to DeBoer to expect that either.
Well, Alabama just experienced the greatest college football dynasty of all time, so of course there's going to be a little bit of a downward trend, but I'd also caution people, especially some of the younger generation. I think there's a perception that Saban made Alabama.
Yeah.
And he did to an extent. He took it to heights it had never been to, and heights that programs have never been to. But Alabama was Alabama before Coach Saban got there, and it will continue to be. And Alabama had 12 national championships when Coach Saban arrived. There's been plenty of coaches that can win national championships at Alabama. I think, Coach DeBoer is a guy I expect could possibly win a national championship. And the pressure is about to go a little down with the 12-team playoff.
Yep.
You don't have to go 11-1 or 12-0 to make a playoff now. You could lose 2 games. You could potentially lose 3 games if you get lucky. So I think the standard that everybody's gone by for the last 10 to 15 years is about to change. Definitely. And I think that's going to play in Coach DeBoer's favor.
I agree. This one was about we were talking about his regular tunings out because of father. Yeah, you could definitely tell he had mellowed in the last couple of years, and we didn't see as much until a couple of times this year. That he wasn't really on people as much. So, yeah. I mean, do I expect? No, but I mean, I like the team to be competitive and show an upward trend. That's really what I like. And like Bama just said, playoffs is never out of question now with the 12 team. So,
I mean,
my answer to this, and I'll definitely turn this one over to you guys. It's hard to have a head coach in waiting plan when your coordinators keep leaving. So, like, when was the last coordinator that was here more than a couple years in like the last 5 years? So, I just don't know what they were supposed to do. Like, convince a guy, hey, Saban might be retiring any day now. Can you just stick around for the next 2 to 5 years and ignore any other possibilities? So that's my plan. That's my thought on it. So
I think the head coach in waiting plan is just hard to pull off. Anytime that's ever been announced, it's hard to keep your coordinator around because all the other schools know he's in line to be a head coach, and you potentially view him as somebody who's an option for your school. I remember when Will Muschamp was the head coach in waiting at Texas under Mac Brown, and Florida nabbed him before Brown retired. So it's just hard to pull that off. And like you were saying, Herb, there just hasn't really been any coordinators, I would say, at Alabama recently that were worthy of a head coach in waiting title. The last one was Sarkisian. And I think he could have potentially got that job if maybe Saban retires after the 20 season.
Yeah,
but he couldn't pass up on the Texas job, waiting around on that opportunity.
Which I agree.
Yeah.
Well, here's Coldwater Randy wanting to rain on our parade. So thanks, Randy. I appreciate you so much, man, for throwing that one out there. So
still can't beat Alabama though.
Yeah, they had that 500 game win streak, and it came to an end. So.
Definitely agree with this, man. It's the way NIL and recruiting have popped up, man. It's definitely changed the way college football is going. So, and yet it is like this is. I mean, it's become where you've got to be out there every single week. Like I just don't.
Yeah, it's not just during the season; it's the off season too. I mean, you got to travel, you got to recruit, you got to do all that. Stay by your phones. It's a hell of a grind, and not everybody can do it. So I'm surprised to see Saban do it as long as he did, and not just Alabama. I mean, prior to that too. So
I know, Bama, you got some thoughts on this one, and I know it's obviously with a lot of sarcasm in there, but we're just like in the middle of the almost legal tampering period for 30 days, right after your coach leaves.
Yeah, I had a tweet about that kind of exploded. It was kind of meant for the Alabama fan base. Just my thoughts on kind of the situation Alabama's in, where their roster is basically open season for the next 30 days, but they can't really retaliate because the transfer portal is already closed for any team that hasn't had a coaching change. So it's just, I know rival fans are not going to have any sympathy for Alabama, especially with the success that Alabama's had in the last 17 years, but it's just nuts. I don't know how a new coach is supposed to come in and try to hire his coaching staff, retain his current roster, start recruiting, get his family moved in. I mean, these guys are people outside of football, and he's about to move his family 3,000 miles across the country, and he's having to deal with all this stuff at the same time while he's starting a new job. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
They've got to do something with the college football calendar in general, but especially with the way NIL tampering, transfer portal, that's got to all be reined in. You were talking about the NFL earlier and how I think a viewer commented that college football is becoming a lot like the NFL, and it is, but the NFL's got a lot of restrictions and guidelines in place that create parity in the sport. And I think we've gotten a little bit of parity from the transfer portal, but at the same time, you've got some big hitters out there like Texas and Texas A&M who are willing to throw big money out for players, and that's giving them a competitive advantage that some schools aren't capable of matching.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed. I do think the offense will be able to score. I agree with that. So I think we're all curious on what's going to happen and actually who's even going to be here to deploy. I think that's the biggest thing. So
yeah.
I like this one because I've been definitely one of those ones saying it'll be an interesting battle. So definitely interested in what you guys think. Does Ty have a shot at Milroe? Are we talking about saying here, or is Milroe? And I made my thoughts clear on this. Milroe is good. He'll check down or he'll hit you 30 yards down the field. It's that in between that's really the pre-snap reads. I think too, other stuff goes into it, but I think those are my biggest thoughts on him. And if he keeps the job and if he's able to elevate Alabama to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ty definitely has a shot. If you look at some of the games we played, especially this previous season, there's a lot of close games, especially the one with Arkansas that shouldn't have been a close game. Had we made some better passes and done some better things in offense, that would have kind of spread us out a little bit. But I think Ty has a shot, and I know Julian Satan's a 5-star coming out, and everything, but I got to see how he plays at the collegiate level before I start raving about him, especially in spring practices and especially in 8A. So I don't know, but to answer the question, yeah. It could be anybody's up for the QB position right now.
Yeah, the quarterback position should be wide open this spring, in my opinion. Milroe's going to have an advantage because he has game experience that the other guys don't. But he's going to be learning a new offense. All the other quarterbacks are going to be learning a new offense. The offensive philosophy is a lot different. DeBoer builds his offense around the quarterback. Built around a distributing quarterback who gets the ball into the playmaker's hands. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that was one of Milroe's strengths last season. So if I'm Ty Simpson, from all indications, it sounds like he plans to stay. I'm thinking I've got a great opportunity this spring. He had kind of announced he was staying before Coach Saban announced his retirement. And, with Coach Saban's retirement, if I'm him, I'm thinking, I've got a hell of an opportunity here to compete. Right. You've got Dylan Lonergan there. You've got Julian Sayin, and I haven't really heard much on those two. I'm assuming they'll be here in the spring because, you think a quarterback would just love to play in this offense, but we'll see what happens if there's any movement there. But I do agree with Raj. It's going to be hard for Sayin, being a true freshman. I mean, I know he's a 5-star. He's definitely the most talented quarterback on the roster, but Bryce Young wasn't ready as a true freshman.
Exactly. Right. And that was going to be my point that I went with. So, I'm not sure that now with 3. Oh, that's when Raj and I started was within the Wilderness. I think that's why we're a little more humble than people who started exactly with Saban. We started here in 94. When we moved to Tuscaloosa. So,
well, 94, let's not forget, we had like a 12-1 record in 94, but it was like the years after that when things went down, especially, was it 2000 or 2001 when we only won like 4 games that year.
Yeah. And 94, bad. They were good, but we weren't into it. We had just got here. We didn't even really know what was going on yet. So we were basketball fans. So. Yep. I would agree with that. Sark was up next.
Well, Alabama's gotten themselves in trouble in the past with some poor coaching hires. That for a while there was a belief that Alabama had to have an Alabama guy as a head coach, and I think that really cut off your coaching pool. And whether Coach DeBoer is successful or not, they went out and got somebody with no ties to Alabama that, by all accounts, is one of the top 5 coaches in the country. So that's all you can do.
So this was an interesting one on this Texas or LSU. I just feel like Georgia fans really just want to count Alabama out as soon as possible, and it's like we're ignoring a lot of Alabama's still done really well head-to-head with Georgia over the past couple of years, but I feel like that's just a thing where they definitely want to count it out as soon as possible. So a couple more comments. Recruiting made a decision, was tired. He said, yeah, definitely saw this news pop up earlier. And I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with the Otis saying, Texas is basically trying to buy out everybody from Alabama who's leaving. Yeah. So this is what happens when you got that Texas money, which is one of those things when people were like, can Sark come back to Alabama? Like, Texas is never going to let that happen. So, and Oda also loves the stat. He's going to win a lot. Agreed.
But real quick, here's the thing with Kendrick Blackshire. He's got 1 year of eligibility left, and Jahad Campbell and Deontay Lawson both returned. So I have no problem with him.
We're good there, yeah.
I have no problem with him moving on to another program if he wants to be a starter.
Yeah. We'll get a couple more, and then we'll get into some season grades. I don't know what's feeling. We're the enemies of the college football world, so I know nobody is going to feel bad for us. Georgia had one of the most dominant runs ever in college football, and people still hated Alabama. So that should tell you everything you need to know.
Like I said, Alabama's the villain. Alabama's been the villain for a long time. When Georgia won, people were just basically saying congrats to Georgia, but at least it wasn't Alabama. That's pretty much what everybody was saying. So
So let me see that. Getting that. Agreed with this one. I think we've got enough of a competition without saying even having to come there. So
and if Milroe has a good year, then
Mike.
If Milroe has a good year, he'll probably go to the NFL, and then that'll be whoever else is up there. So let Julian sit; he'll be okay.
Yeah.
I don't think he's committed anywhere, right? He's just there's talks that he might be coming back. I mean, I know he decommitted, but we still got a good chance to snag him back. And again, he's a 5-star, so I don't know how good he's going to be at the collegiate level, but
he was in Tuscaloosa last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I read those, and then I'm like, I hope that's actually true. So
I
feel like a lot of people are, right, including a lot of the comments we've already seen in here. So like I said, it's fine. It's actually probably be one of the least pressured seasons that we're going into. So my only so Texas, I definitely I feel like they're on an upward trend for sure. Ole Miss just seems to do this every year. So I see, it seems like they bring in the number one transfer class every year. So that's kind of like one of those. I like Lane. I like what he's building there. He gets Alabama off his schedule next year, but I need to see him finish the job, I guess, against the better teams.
If you look at Ole Miss's schedule for next year, they have a good chance to just finish with one loss, and that might be the Georgia game. Other than that, I can see them winning all those other games.
So surprised to see Trey. Were you surprised at this one?
He's a big Saban T-Rob guy, so I'm not shocked. I was hopeful that he would stay because I think he's a projected starter at corner, but a lot of times it's all about relationships. A lot of kids make decisions based off of who's going to be coaching them and who's recruited them, not actually qualities of the school that they're going to. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just a reality.
Yeah. And it sucks for losing though, because he was huge in that SEC championship game.
Yeah, I agree.
Jabbar Muhammad is
about Williams,
Washington corner that's in the portal right now. I think with the way Alabama's hemorrhaging defensive backs, I know he said the board's already been in contact, but I think Alabama really needs to push there.
And this one, I feel like this would be the time that you want to come here. I understand the frustration of them last year. I feel like it was the same with when we had Jalen Hurts in there, and you can see it in a lot of body language. So I can understand why you would initially want to walk away, but I'd give the new guy a chance. So.
And I know we already touched on Isaiah Bond, but I kind of feel like Isaiah Bond throughout the season, his patience was just wearing thin with what was going on and the way that the game was
the Calvin Ridley effect. Remember the Calvin Ridley effect?
Yep. So right when the Rose Bowl was over, he's like, "Look, I already had my mind made up for weeks now, so I'm out of here." And unfortunately, he didn't wait to see what was going to unfold as far as the coaching, but it is what it is.
All right. Before I lose this comment, we're going to get into the grades for the season. I do want to show some basketball love real quick because I have been following a little. I think the top 8 have stayed the same since last week.
Boston,
I
remember Indy was at 4. Yeah. Okay.
Pacers are in the mix for Siakam, so I'm wondering how that's going to change this right here. And the Bucks don't seem to play any defense, so I'm still wondering. I feel like Boston's still clearly the best team in the East. The West, though, I feel like any one of those top 4 teams could still take it. So it's going to be interesting, especially as we start to get more into basketball. So
and guess who beat the OKC Thunder last night, Herb?
What?
Guess who beat OKC last night?
And also, I want to say thank you to E for the football questions also, because he was up texting. I think we were texting like 11:30 last night about his concerns about the Alabama staff and everything, stuff like that. So be interesting to see what he says. All right, let's get into some grades real quick. You know how we like to do. We'll break it down. We'll start with, I guess, the most interesting one, Emma, quarterback. You all right over there?
So I'll go B-.
Is this encompassing like what we had 3 different starters this year? Is that right? Or no, I guess 2 and then 1 super relief.
Yeah,
was Tyler the super relief?
Yeah. No, Ty Simpson the super relief because he actually finished the South Florida game.
So are we considering Ty Buckner's that a start?
He started as a
Yeah, that went south fast. It was so bad he started playing lacrosse again. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm really just thinking about Milroe when I give my rating. Try to block that South Florida game out of my head, and Ty got such limited action. Milroe came a long way.
Yeah.
I still don't think he's quite there yet with his pre-snap reads and distributing the ball and just seeing the field. I think there's a lot of room to work with there, and I'd like to see him become a little bit more of an instinctive runner. He's not quite as committed as I'd like him to be at times, but from where he started the season to where he ended the season, I never thought. I'll be honest, I was wrong in my assessment of what he could become this year. He got farther than I thought he could, but I think, especially with the new offensive system at Alabama, that he's going to have to play at a higher level next year if Alabama's going to be successful.
Yeah. I gave it the same grade, B- for the same, pretty much the same reasons, to be honest with you. He made some strides this year. I'm excited to see what he can do and if he does it next year.
I'm gonna throw this one out real quick. And this is Randy, but anybody who texts me late. First off, especially with the information you got, you can always text me late. DMs don't wake us up, and my phone goes off at a certain point. So if I answer, I'm up, and if not, I answer in the morning. But Randy has been one of the biggest. Like I said, there's definitely tough because he's a Georgia guy, so there's always going to be a little bit of like, I hate you, man. But he's been one of the biggest supporters of the show and supporters of us just personally. So, no, I love it, man. So I appreciate it. Hit us up anytime. So, and yeah, I think this goes to your point. So that's why I said if he wins the job, he's going to be better for it, and if he doesn't, the team will be better for it. And I think either way, I think it's just a win-win with the competition going in here. So let's hurry up and kind of get through these since I started a little late. That's my fault. Running back.
So I'll say B+. I think they were. I think it was a good group this year. Jason McCullough battled injuries down the stretch, but I think he was a really solid back. I'm not sure McClellan ever fully recovered from that ACL he tore a couple years ago. Just didn't quite have the explosion he did before that injury. Roydell Williams, I thought he ran really hard all year. Wish him well at Florida State. That's a guy that stuck around that didn't have to.
Right.
I can certainly see why he wants to transfer. He's got some more talented guys behind him, and he wants an opportunity to have a bigger role. So
agreed.
I have no problem with Roydell Williams moving on to another program. I feel like Jam and Justice were kind of the guys we wanted to see more, but we just didn't.
Agreed.
I agree.
We didn't see him until the end of the year, and you can see the talent there. I'm really excited to see those two next season.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think we're excited about the running back room for next year.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
That's a hard one. Because
I agree. That's why I love this grade every time, man.
I would love to give them a good grade, but I just don't feel like they got the ball enough, and they didn't really have the right guy distributing the ball throughout the season. So it's hard to give them a good grade. I mean, I guess I go C+, but Bond did well and Burton had a good season, but I feel like we could have just saw so much more production out of them.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of unused talent over there, but that's kind of the outside view.
I'm going to give him a little higher grade just because I feel like they weren't utilized. I'm going to give him a B. I felt like Bond came into his own and started to develop more as a receiver as the season went on. Burton was, not spectacular, but a really solid number one option. Some of the younger guys, Kobe Prentice, Jalen Hale, Kendrick Ball, you saw flashes there. I guess I'll leave Amari Niblack to tight end, but I mean, have you
called him since he entered the portal? Have you talked to him? Or you?
He's dead to me.
Oh wow! I never thought I'd hear you say that.
I know you've been his biggest supporter.
Niblack was your guy, and I like Niblack even going through the season. I was like, man, please give him the ball, but things just stopped somewhere, and it fell flat. So.
Yeah, but if you wanted to group the tight ends with the wide receiver and give them a B, I think that's fine. I mean, I just don't think we could utilize our pass catchers too well this year. Really, I thought the group probably did better than I expected based on the preseason talk that the wide receivers were dropping balls left and right. I mean, that wasn't a huge issue this year. So,
quick question since we're on it right quick. What have you heard about Caleb Odom? Is he supposed to be the next big thing? Have you heard anything good about him, or is it still too early to tell?
Yeah, I haven't really heard anything since the little bit that he's practiced at Alabama, but he's a big time talent. I mean, he's got huge upside, height, athleticism. I mean, if I was him, I'd be salivating to play in this offense.
Oh, yeah. And that's another one. How the running backs are used will be interesting in there. Yep. And then let's get to this grade. O-line.
I guess I'll go with a C. To see where we start off, we started off the season really rough. Especially
that sounds like there was a lot of extra credit involved to get them to.
I know. I mean, Caden Proctor had a rough early start to the season, although he was a true freshman. He really progressed as the season went on, and shout out to Caden Proctor. Seth McLaughlin. I mean, I have no idea what the deal was with the. I'm sorry, I had to bring it. I had no idea it was with the snaps that just seemed to progress throughout the season. Obviously, it was bad in the Rose Bowl. He's at Ohio State now, so it's going to be interesting to see if that same problem continues for him. But for the most part, it did all right. But there's just some things that it's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah. He's not playing center anymore, from what I understand. So.
Oh, is he moving to like right guard or what?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Bama, what you got?
That's probably a smart thing.
Yeah, so I'd probably be somewhere like C plus, because honestly, I think Alabama finished the year with around 50 sacks or something like that.
I think it was 49. To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a little harsh. I think the quarterback play played into that a little bit.
Right.
Milroe holds the ball longer than anybody in the SEC.
Yep.
That they don't get the pre-snap protections aren't correct sometimes.
Right.
I mean,
or ever.
Seth has had snapping issues all season, and I'm not here to defend Seth because I mean that was an issue from game one to the last game, but I think he had a lot of responsibility thrown on his plate because of some of the limitations at quarterback as far as reading the defense and some of the pre-play stuff. So I thought the line got better as the season went on. They were a lot better run. They were a lot better run blocking unit than they were a pass blocking unit. I mean, they were just like, I think I saw a comment pop up, you should give them a weekly grade. And I mean, I think that's true because I thought they were really good against Georgia. And
I was about to say they look good in the SEC championship.
And they were not so good against Auburn and Michigan.
Michigan just bullied them. Yeah.
So I'm glad to see Alabama's making a coaching change there. I mean, I appreciate everything Eric Wolford did while he was at Alabama, but for whatever reason, that just didn't quite ever work out like we hoped it would. So,
Yep.
All right, we'll divvy up I guess we'll go D-line, or do you want to combine D-line and linebackers? Since I know a lot of kind of switches around a lot.
That's fine due to time constraints, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Due to time constraints, we'll move further on in our program.
I'll go B- on the D line. I thought
this is why you don't like some of your friends. Thanks, man.
He's a Michigan fan, so the first championship in 26 years. So hey, it is. Last time they won, they didn't even have iPhones and stuff like that. So, but that's a whole nother. Sorry about that.
But yeah, I go B- on the defensive line. I thought they were solid, nothing spectacular. I mean, didn't really get much of a pass rush from that position this year, which is not Saban's defense is not built to get a pass rush from there.
Right.
But they were solid. They were okay. Linebackers, I thought, were a little inconsistent. The outside guys, they were 1 and 2 in the SEC and pass rushing and quarterback pressure, so they've got to be doing something right. But I just felt like they weren't there every game. Maybe the consistency wasn't quite there like you wanted, and it was a little bit of the same at the middle linebacker position. Alabama lost gap integrity in the Auburn game pretty badly, and that was kind of disappointing to see because Deontay Lawson's a guy with a lot of experience, and you'd be hoping that wouldn't happen that late in the season. He was playing injured, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but they were solid, not great, not horrible.
Yeah.
Secondary.
What? A. I like
the
secondary.
We didn't have a dog this year, I guess, on that side.
I like the secondary, and man, Caleb Downs I hate to keep on bringing his name up. He just
don't say his name until we know if he's okay.
I'm gonna leave it at that. I gave the secondary an A. I'm sorry. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give him an A- only because there were too many busted coverages late in the season against Auburn and against Michigan are the two games that I'm really thinking of.
When they busted too, it was like
bad.
30 yards.
It was really bad in Michigan. Because Michigan, if you look at the Rose Bowl,
recover and even get over to the guy. Sorry, go ahead, Raj.
No, I mean Michigan just had they didn't have a great game throwing the ball, but their big plays were just huge passing plays, and this just really killed us at the end.
Yep. All right, special teams.
Well,
A.
Yeah.
Reichard was about as good as you can be for an entire season. You know, he had a 2 or 3 quarter stretch where he missed a few field goals, and it was like, oh, what's happening? Reichard doesn't know. Reichard's lost it, and he just came back and was solid as ever. So I thought James Burnip got a lot better as the season went on. I mean, he was booming them in that Michigan game. I mean, to be honest, James Burnip kept Alabama in the game.
Yes,
he did.
The mistakes that Michigan was making on special teams were a direct result of how high and how far he was kicking the ball. Yeah, so I'm excited to have him back this year. I mean, Alabama has a really solid punter.
Unfortunately for us, our kicking game was punting and kicking was the MVP of the game for us. I felt like, and that's what was really keeping it into it. So
it's never a good thing.
Thanks, Kat. If you want to bring up any more sad stuff for me today, appreciate it. So
Will's gone. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys. But he was. So, it's surprised you guys aren't that high on Dallas Turner.
I am. I mean.
Yeah, I'm not high on Dallas Turner. I thought Dallas Turner had a really good year. I mean, he led the SEC in quarterback pressures. You know, maybe our expectations are too high. You know, we had Will Anderson and Dallas Turner last year, so I thought Dallas Turner had a solid season. I think he has a tendency to disappear in some games, and you know, there were some comments made after the Rose Bowl by Dallas Turner about his role in that game. You know, maybe some questions about how much he was dropping into coverage. So maybe that played a part into it. But I did feel like this year we went through stretches during games where Alabama's pass rush just wasn't quite what you wanted it to be.
Right. I got it. All right. We got about 8 minutes left. I guess you could give these. We give 2 more grades. We can slide in there.
What's that?
Offensive coordinator.
I'm gonna go with
So I'd probably be at a B-. And I've defended Tommy, so I may be a little biased, but I'd be like B-, C+. Yeah. I mean, I think his hands were tied a little bit this year with how the O-line performed, some of the limitations at quarterback. I think he did the best he could. Maybe not as creative, you know, as you might like, but there's a lot of things that were going on with this offense that held it back.
He did the best he could, and he played to Milroe's strengths throughout the season. And I think the thing that kind of won me over with Tommy Rees was probably the second half of the Texas A&M game when we came out, and I want to say the first 7, I don't remember exactly, but first 7-8 plays were all passing plays, and I think that's when he just kind of let Milroe know, like, we're not going to win this game, you know, by you running the ball over the field. So, but overall, you know, he did what he could with what he was given. So B- is fine with me.
Defensive coordinator.
Who was the defensive coordinator? That's a better question.
It depends on who you ask, I guess, right? Someone just out there calling plays. So
yeah.
We're not sure.
I'll go B+. I thought Alabama upgraded defensive coordinator this year. Regardless of who you think was calling plays, I thought Alabama was better in situations this year, better situational defense, helped them play a little bit better complementary football. So it wasn't the Alabama defenses of old, but I don't know if you can get that in today's game.
Yeah.
There's a couple. Yep. All right, let's get into some quick questions of death. So I'm going to rehash one, but it seemed like a perfect time for it with what went on with the teams this year and with what we're losing and coordinators and everything. So we're going to go back to a classic one. Work, play, live. Kirby, Sark, and Lane.
Well, play is Kiffin.
Oh, yeah.
That guy played so much when he was in Tuscaloosa. Yeah. It's probably the reason he's not the head coach now.
Yeah.
Kirby would be work. That guy works his tail off. He's as close to Saban as you're going to get. Georgia made a fantastic hire there. And, he's a Georgia alum, so he's not going anywhere unless he makes the jump to the NFL. And then I guess Liv is Sark, kind of by process of elimination.
Yes, you definitely got to be careful. So I don't want to work for Kirby, but working next to him, maybe we'll get all the work done.
Yeah,
we'll be fine. Yeah. So that's it. So, and this goes back to your coordinator question. Yeah, P. Golding wasn't calling the plays. So yeah, and we always appreciate you, man. Thank you for being out there.
All right, Bama B. So let's just say you could no longer report or look into any information regarding Alabama. What other SEC team would you want to follow, and what would your handle be?
Vanderbilt? Yeah? No?
Wow.
It'd be smart stuff. That could be your handle.
The whole school made the dean's list. Yeah.
Might be the only school that I don't have some kind of disdain for various reasons. Maybe Missouri, just because Vandy would be extremely boring.
Yeah.
The only sport they're good at is baseball.
Baseball, yeah.
And Missouri's always felt like that kind of that odd man out. They don't feel like an SEC school. So yeah. I feel like my dislike for some of the other schools is a little less so at Mizzou. So,
and I underestimated Missouri this year. I did not know they were going to have this type of year. So ended on a really, really high note beating Ohio State too. So that's good for them.
As far as my handle, maybe
what would your handle be?
The Mizzou Maniac.
He says it's time to cut loose, right?
Okay, so, the Mizzou Maniac.
I like it. I like it. If I see this pop up in a couple of weeks, though, I'm gonna wonder if he stops answering our calls.
The Mizzou Maniac.
Yeah.
Right. Master of Mizzou. I mean, y'all got me thinking about all kinds of handles that you do for that.
Forget what this was. With Ohio State, Raj. Don't remind her anything about that.
Sorry.
So this one was, and I guess we'll touch on this to end the show. I guess with the hardball thing.
I saw that earlier today. I was like, that is absolutely insane. No. He basically said, "Yeah, we made some mistakes, but I don't want to have anything to do with this type of stuff when it comes out."
Nice. So, even though Hoda says, Mommy Mizzou. And he got to cheat. He's a different breed, man. He's a different breed. All right, so good that Randy's still here because Randy's kind of made this question. It's we've used this question in the past, but Randy kind of did a TikTok video on it and kind of made it a little more fun. So I'm bringing it back. With Alabama doing the whole new staff, if you had to pick the coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator, but you have to use superheroes for all three positions, who are you taking?
It's an interesting question.
And Randy, like I said, I agree. Anybody who's out there needs to go check out. He did answer this question, and then he did a little TikTok of it too. That was great. So that's why I think I've used this question more after that than I have ever before.
And Randy and Herb are huge Batman fans, so that's just an FYI. They're probably going to be waiting for you to call Batman at one of these positions.
Yeah, always. Yep, that's one of her favorites. Randy. Randy will never go to Vandy. I don't think he could. The drop from Georgia to Vandy would just be too. I think that would give him a heart attack.
Yes.
All right, what you got, man? We stalled for you.
So I'm more of a Marvel guy myself.
Okay.
I'll say Captain America as the head coach just because he's kind of the rah-rah guy, but he's still kind of a smart character, I guess. So I feel like he'd be a good head coach. He's kind of the leader of the Avengers, so I'll go with him for head coach. Offensive coordinator, Iron Man. just because Tony Stark's that
would be like a Lane Kiffin type offense.
Yeah, he's the genius of the group, back there working in his lab, creating Iron Man suits, creating new elements and stuff. I think he'd be good offensive coordinator, creative. And then just to throw DC a bone, I'll say Batman for defensive coordinator because, he doesn't really have any superpowers, but
thank you. That's what I've been trying to tell her. He's just rich.
He makes do with what he has. I think that's a good defensive quality.
So, Daredevil, I think that's who we had as our OC at times this year.
Yeah.
And then you had 2 Professor X's in there. I feel like that's cheating having Professor X on the squad.
Yeah.
But that's a really good pick. So
money.
Yeah, it's a superpower I'm lacking in. So I agree with that. So all right, Rod, what you got?
Last one in honor of the greatest college football coach that we've ever seen and ever witnessed. What are your top 3 plays under the Nick Saban era for Alabama?
That's not even fair because 2 of them I feel like are easy now.
It was when I thought of the question, I was like, man, I could think of so many, but I know like a few that just come to mind just like that. So, what are your top 3?
So number 1 would be the 2nd and 26 to win the national championship. I mean,
is that why you picked 3? Because 2 of them are now like.
Well, I mean, I could have gone to 5, but I didn't want to, let it draw out. But 2nd 26, that was my number 1.
Yeah, that's hard to beat.
Sorry, Randy.
So I'll mix it up a little bit. I'll go number 2, Rocky Block. I was at that game in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, I was at that game in 2009, and that's one of the loudest moments I've ever heard in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and it was just such a exhale of relief for Alabama fans. And then number 3's got to be the Hail Mary against Auburn this year.
Wait, I got to correct you on something though, because of recent events. That play is now Milroe dropped back,
and threw
it up in the air. Ran up under it, caught it himself, and scored a touchdown. So that's how I will now remember that play.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just gonna white out Bond from in the Daniel Moore painting.
Yes.
But I'm not gonna look back on that game fondly just because of the way Alabama played. It was just it was almost like a replay 2 years ago. It just felt like they were playing so below their capability, but it was nice to steal one from Auburn and Jordan Hare again.
Yes.
Maybe I'm hoping one of the things that we'll gain from this coaching change is maybe we've exercised the demons in Jordan Hare. I mean, that's probably asking for a lot, but Saban's teams never seem to play well down there. Maybe a new head coach could change that.
Keep in mind, Auburn has not beat Alabama this decade. Just throwing that out there.
Wow.
Hey, another one I would have thrown in there was
the way
Kenyon Drake's
plan for us. That was definitely terrible. So. And Kat, this was one of Rod's favorite plays. She mentioned it twice in there about the onside kick.
I like that one, but I was talking about Kenyon Drake's kickoff return in the national.
I mean, but same game. So it's interesting about those two plays. They actually come in the same game. So all the other plays that we're mentioning were not particularly they're not great games. You're not going to rewatch any of those games. The Georgia game you might watch after halftime, but even right after halftime.
Yeah, that first half was absolutely
the first half was terrible. The Auburn game, you probably don't want to watch most of that, but the one with the onside kick and the Drake one, it might be the one game that you might want to watch the whole game and have plenty of plays in there. So,
that's probably the most rewatchable game in my opinion of the Saban era. I mean, that was an incredible game, and it's so overlooked in my opinion when people make these rankings lists of national championship games. I often see the 2017 one on there, and I understand because that was a great ending where Clemson throws the pass to Renfro to win the game. But to me, that 15 game, the back and forth in that game was a much better game.
Agreed.
2017.
Agreed. All right. You're off the hot seat for another week. Man, thank you, as always,
we appreciate you
for stopping in. Thank you, everybody, for the comments. The comments really help make the show. So we if I missed anybody, I apologize. But, man, we appreciate it. Thank y'all very much. Bama, tell everybody where to find you, what you're going on, and when's the next time you think you'll get some sleep?
The Mizzou Maniac.
I'm making sure I get sleep. As much as I love Alabama football, we're still getting our rest. But you can follow me on Bama Beat. I think my handle's at the Bama Beat on Twitter. been super active over the last week, going to continue to be super active. One of the things with this coaching change, we're all disappointed to see Coach Saban go and thankful for the years he gave us, but it is exciting to have a new coach. And it is exciting to kind of usher in the new era of Alabama football. And I just urge people, let's be patient with Coach DeBoer. I mean, he had the guts to take this job. I certainly wouldn't have taken this job.
I would not have. I wouldn't have bought a house. I'd have been like, maybe we should just rent for a little while.
So I just urge people to be patient. It doesn't matter who was hired. We were going to go through this transition period. I mean, this is an unprecedented transition in college football history. This has never happened before. So it's like I told Herb earlier, things are probably going to get worse before they get better. But they're going to get better.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
Agreed. I don't know if you saw this. There was a personal one to you from Randy that appreciates you. I think he's also followed it. We'll let Randy get in his Go Dogs. Even on there, just guy said Randy's.
You can't say that though. Even if it's somebody.
I look, man. I'm just reading the comment. All right, well, like you said, Randy's been one of our biggest supporters off the air, so we gotta give him his love. We'll end on a better one. How about that?
Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Yeah. Roll Tide.
All right, for the Herb and Rod podcast, we appreciate you. We will have a YouTube video coming out this week with our NFL picks because I know everybody just can't live without those. But we had to devote some time to some Alabama football. It's been a huge week. So, Bam Beat, appreciate you being on there. Raj,
appreciate you, man.
You survived. Are you still refreshing your phone even as
I did about 30 seconds ago, but no new news. So I will be on the lookout for maybe next few hours because I'll be up with the kids. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Appreciate everybody tuning in. Love the comments. Thanks, everybody. Hope I see your Go Lions. Go Lions. I'll be rooting for them this weekend, too, as well. Have a wonderful night. And